Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday, and I hope you are all having a wonderful week. I am very excited today to be welcoming a fellow holistic practitioner, Christy Nault, the owner of Quantum Fit Fitness, onto our podcast today. We look forward to talking about a little bit of her specialty, which is women's health, as well as health that applies to male and females, which is the lymphatic system. I'm going to let her get into more on that, which is definitely her specialty of this month, specifically in her Fit Members account membership. And so we're looking forward to her firsthand experience with teaching that this month, and also getting the conversation going about the full moon, what we are kind of experiencing with those shifts, and get that spiritual aspect and opinion from someone who has been doing it for many years and is a great role model to me in the holistic health and movement scene. So I am very honored to be interviewing and creating with her today, and I look forward to getting her on here. Until then, I just wanted to pull a year of positive thinking quote. It is a book that I like to go to whenever I am feeling kind of stuck or in a place where I could use a little pick me up motivation for the day. It's always very encouraging, and I would encourage anyone to check out anything like that, where you are kind of finding a positive message, where changing the story. So today is May 27th, and that one is create a love and good stuff folder. When times are darkest, we easily forget all kinds of things that people say about us. We forget who we are, and we sink into a place we don't want to be. This is exactly when a love and good stuff folder comes in handy. Create a folder. It can be a digital folder, a paper folder, or a box. Put into it cards, printed emails, kind notes, positive written words that anyone ever says about you. With your favorite marker or pen, label this folder love and good stuff, or love and good shit. Place this folder somewhere easily accessible. Add it to it and review it as often as possible. I'll go ahead and show tomorrow's as well in case anyone's interested in keeping up with it. May 28th is going to be the truth about love. While infused with love, you see fewer distinctions between you and others. Indeed, your ability to see others, really see them wholeheartedly, springs open. Barbara Fredrickson, PhD, Love 2.0. All right, and we're going to go ahead and welcome Christy on here today. Christy is more on the movement medicine side of things, which means she is a personal fitness instructor as well as that Reiki. She's a Reiki instructor and as well as a spiritual teacher. She dabbles in many different avenues and also does detoxes, and I'll let her go into exactly all of the good stuff she offers. She just says something that is really powerful and something that resonates with me specifically as someone who is a holistic health facilitator and provides holistic supplements for people. One of the greatest quotes she says is, "You can't out supplement a bad diet." And obviously that's not a direct quote. I think a lot of people say that. However, it's very, very true. Supplementing is an add-on into a routine that you're already thriving from. It is adding to that process. It is never in way of taking care of yourself necessarily. So I think that's beautiful, and it definitely brings in that other hand-in-hand aspect, which is that movement medicine piece of healing journey, which is they all go in sync. I definitely don't think one happens without the other, and it's very cool to see different avenues of how people explore that, because it looks different for everyone as well. Some people relate with different physical activities, and it could look just like, stretching for others. It's really important to find what works for you and what works with your somatic releases as well. My acupuncturist, Stephanie from Relief Acupuncture, you should definitely check her out. She's located in Cedarburg, Wisconsin. She gave me a great outlook on my physical movement, as well as I have possibilities that there's some energy still trapped within. And so while a lot of my movement medicine includes vinyasa flow or yin yoga or some of those smooth transitional movements, she's actually encouraging me to find something more like assertive, more, kickboxing or something, trying out something where I'm getting that, it's more of that movement, we could say aggressive, more of an aggressive movement to release any of that. And so it's really important to dial into on what you're usually doing and maybe seeing how you can tweak that to move into what is truly a medicine for you, because everyone is bio-individual and unique. And so no two journeys are going to look the same. I am very much excited to hear about Christy's journey, so I'm going to go ahead and welcome her on, and we are going to get started.
So my head's off. All right. Just give me a second.
No problem. While you're doing that, I'll go ahead and introduce us.
So I think
Christy is a fitness facilitator in the holistic realm outside of Chicago. She is originally from Wisconsin and has been a role model to me for about 10 plus years now. At this point, I've seen her through many types of journeys, and she has now got to witness mine as well. And so it's been great connecting and aligning throughout that journey. She's going to go ahead and get her connections going, and we'll get her back on here.
there we go. We'll blame it on the full moon.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. I think I'm live.
You are.
How's it going, Caitlin? Thank you for having me.
It is going great. The full moon is definitely kicking in Wisconsin too, so I can't wait to hear more about that from your end.
I know we were just chatting right before we got on and talking about just how sleep was a little difficult last night. And that tends to happen with full moons. I'm just getting a little echo, sorry.
Are you? Yeah. Should we turn the... How are we doing?
I think great. Oh, so much better.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so anyway, we were talking before about how we were both up last night, like past midnight, which is obviously not something we do anymore, but I always like to tell my clients, like, it's so interesting, even people who don't necessarily believe in astrology, I'm like, it affects us all, because right around that full moon, a lot of my clients struggle sleeping and just some of the things that come along with it. But what actually happens on a full moon is our melatonin drops, so our sleepy hormone drops, and our serotonin rises, and that's what just kind of causes just disruption to sleep. And I know we were both talking this morning that our dogs were totally off, so it even affects our animals too. It's crazy, but
it does.
Beyond that, yeah.
I'm curious, with your animal specifically, is it every single time, or what do you notice?
It depends. Like last night was definitely intense. We're just under so much heightened cosmic activity with the retrogrades that are happening, and it was an eclipse. So I think she also picks up on like our energy. She's so sensitive, but yeah, it really is like, if you track stuff, but I always tell my clients to pay attention to like how you feel cyclically as well, but like noticing with your animals, she does tend to get more digestive distress around full moons, which is quite interesting. Yeah.
That's very interesting. And I'm noticing the same with my animals. So
yeah.
Very aligning.
Yeah. Crazy.
Very cool. Well, I'd love to ask you some questions about your business. How long have you been facilitating quantum fit flow, and where did that come from?
So I have been a personal trainer full-time since 2010. And I really didn't go off on my own until this past year. So March 2020, my company laid off all employees, I think, except for about 9 people at the corporate level.
Mhm.
And I was essentially forced into starting my own business in like a day. So it's something I had always dreamed of doing, but I was also sucked into pretty tight non-competes and contracts. So that would have been a little bit difficult to do on my own.
Sure.
So I kind of always say like 2020 was a gift in strange wrapping paper, because it just, some things that would have taken us months or perhaps even years to pursue, like a lot of us just pivoted. And speaking for myself, I literally started my business in a day. So it's been over a year now. March of 2020 is when I went off on my own full time.
Congratulations. That's
Thank you
very
so much.
inspiring.
Same to you. Same to you.
Yes.
I
I
just like
completely agree with that. The special gift in a disguise. It's kind of how you take it and perceive it, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you made such a successful business for yourself. And I have to ask, do you like your job now?
I do. I love it. Like, I love the freedom. I've really been able to transition my mindset to around what I want my business to look like. I was definitely sucked into like the hustle and the grind, back working for a company. I started my days every day. I woke up at 4 a.m. I was at work by 6 a.m. I got home every single night after 9 p.m. Like, I worked long days. And now I just have the freedom to, and I was making my schedule then, but it was just a different energy. Like, I feel like I've finally been able to implement everything I've learned over the years. And we don't always have to hustle and grind it out to be successful, especially as women, like really dropping into our divine feminine cycles. I'm really passionate about teaching women about not only aligning their diet and their exercise to our monthly cycles, but also the way we socialize, show up in relationships, show up for our work. And I've really been able to do that for myself. So yes, I love it. Beyond personal training, I've just created so much this past year. I created a course that I've always wanted to do. So last October, I taught a holistic hormone balancing course, which is like a 2-month course, super, super deep dive. It was amazing, incredible, like one of the biggest things I've ever done. And then from there, I started a monthly membership program, which I launched just this year in January. And I feel like just being on your own, like once you realize you can do one thing, you realize you can literally do anything and you're unstoppable. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
I'm just like, I feel like for so long I was in this space of healing and being within for so many years, which was such an essential part of my journey. But now I'm really in that like outward creation, like being that teacher, stepping into that role of leader and guide. And I'm so in love with everything I'm doing now. So it's just a really exciting time, and just continue to have like so many exciting things come up month after month. So
Absolutely.
I love it.
And you're without a doubt a leader, and will be moving forward, especially in this new creation that we're all making together, co-creating.
Yeah, I love it.
Yes.
I love being on this journey together. Like, it's just so fun to see people from our past. I feel like we've had similar journeys, and now we're back and aligned on similar journeys again. And it's just so cool seeing so many people rise around the same time. And we're just really all in it together,
Yes. And I love that aspect of balance, and with it being the full scope of energy and life and what we're inputting and the relationships, how they all kind of intertwine and are a part of that healing journey.
So true. Yeah.
Is there any other big aspects from your observation of working with people that fit into that equation?
That fit into the equation of, oh,
Oh,
can you say that again? Sorry.
yeah, I apologize. Eating healthy is important. Relationships are important. Is there any other big avenues that should be considered on a healing journey?
Absolutely. So I come from the fitness industry, and in the fitness industry, like I've been an outcast for many years, but I feel like I see myself as like the catalyst of change in the fitness industry, because many people in the fitness industry see health as a depiction between exercise and diet, and not even like balanced nutrition and diet like we talk about. It's all about the aesthetic generally, right?
Mhm.
So my main thing that I notice is, yes, we can focus on the absolute perfect nutrition plan and diet and be on the absolute best fitness regimen, but it really comes down to nervous system regulation for most people. And I see that as the biggest missing link, and the thing that people need to be most aware of. I like to describe it as like our emotional body. We're all so deeply aware, or, if people are tuned in listening to this, most of the people who are health conscious are aware of like the physical aspect. But I really see like the biggest common missing link in health and fitness. This is for everyone, men and women, is being in touch with our emotional body. And the biggest healing truly comes from nervous system regulation, whether that is someone who's looking to lose weight. A lot of people's weight issues really comes from heavy, unprocessed emotional energy that manifests as physical density on our body, or whether that's trying to heal your gut. Like a lot of us have been on deep gut healing journeys. And I know for myself specifically, and so many of the women I work with, like it goes so beyond food. It goes so beyond all of the detox regimens. Don't get me wrong, those things are foundational as well, but so much of it comes down to nervous system regulation. So that would be like, yeah, my my answer.
As someone just starting, I would agree 100% that that is something that needs to be addressed wholeheartedly with any program.
Yeah, for sure.
Wonderful. And what are your hobbies outside of work?
So interesting. I was just having this conversation with a friend the other day, and my hobbies have so much to do with my work. Like, I was thinking at one point, I was like, oh my gosh, like I need hobbies. I don't have hobbies. And that's completely untrue. Like all of my hobbies are so aligned with what I do. I love, like, I would say meditation and breath work. Like those are beautiful hobbies of mine. And nature walks and exercising, even like doing, in addition to a lot of the holistic health facilitating that I do in fitness, I'm also a Reiki energy healer. So just like doing Reiki on myself or my dog or my wife, like honestly, everything I teach is hobbies for me, cooking, all of those things that we love. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you can align what you love with what you're doing, it's magic. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the goal for everyone, right?
Absolutely. And
we definitely all have the power to do that.
Yeah, if you don't mind sharing a little bit like where you were before you got started and something that you wish you knew before you took that journey on.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I've always been interested in health and fitness. Growing up, I was an athlete. So like my life growing up was sports. I always thought I was really into health, or I really was for what we knew at the time. But from a really young age, I was a gymnast, I was a soccer player, I was an extreme perfectionist and always trying to better myself in every way, but definitely didn't have the knowledge I do now. So that really led me down the path of pretty severe eating disorders for much of my life. And, it started because I was trying to just be the healthiest. But remember, like back at that time, what we thought was healthy was like having no fat, like limiting the calories, like everything was calorie counting, like less food was healthier, right? So I've always been interested in like health from the perspective of performance for sports, but I also really got sucked into health became really intertwined with like my body size. I always thought the smaller you were, the healthier you were. And I think that's going to be completely honest, like a lifelong lesson of mine. There's so much unlearning that has to be done. I think in the process of healing more than anything, like we're just doing so much unlearning. And that has been a huge part of my journey. So I guess what I wish I knew then was that fully nourishing ourselves is essential to be at our peak performance as an athlete, but just as a human, like cognitively, emotionally, relationally, like we need to fully nourish ourselves. Anytime we are trying to restrict and make ourselves smaller, not only are we restricting and making ourselves smaller physically, but that's really affecting the way we show up in the world. We're shrinking ourselves energetically and not showing up as our full and highest self. So that has been like a huge ongoing lesson for me, is just allowing myself and giving myself really deep, full permission to be fully nourished without shame, and teaching other women how to do the same.
That is beautiful and so huge today, because I think with social media and editing of images, there's a lot of dysphoria of all sorts.
Yes. Yeah, it's challenging. Like social media is such a beautiful, beautiful thing, but just like everything has a light and shadow side. And
Absolutely.
that shadow side can definitely creep up, especially when you're not, even when you are deeply self-aware. Like we can all get sucked into it. Yeah, because so many people, there's, editing and Photoshop, and like, you just have to be really careful of the comparison, even when it comes to on the journey of like just starting your own business, seeing where people are at in their own business journey. And a lot of these people started, 10 years ago. So we can't compare ourselves in our body. We can't compare ourselves in business. It's really just, being within and following our own journey on our own timeline. But yeah.
And getting quiet enough to hearing our own call.
Absolutely. I think that's probably like what you just said right there is probably the best piece of advice we can give to everyone, even in the line of work that I do in fitness, even with people in nutrition. It's like when people ask me, what's your best advice? I'd honestly say like really learning how to tune out the noise of others and really getting in touch with your own internal intuition and voice, because what works for one person is not going to work for everyone. It's likely not going to work for you. Like you and I, we're guides and we're there to hold space for our clients, but what works for us isn't going to work for the people we teach. So it's just holding that space, being that inspiration, showing people they have the power to take control of their health, but like really allowing them and teaching them how to tune into their own inner voice, because that's where the deep healing is going to come from.
Absolutely. Well said.
Thank you.
And so I think it's a good point here, is there anything else you'd like people to know about your business and your practices going on right now?
I guess like in the realm of fitness, I would just love to mention, like I work specifically with women. I've actually worked specifically with women for the past 10 years, but like my little niche is helping women balance hormones, but also using our cycles, our periods, to help us with our fitness goals as well. So just like teaching women to be really in touch with our cycle. It's a very powerful thing. Most women dread their period and, just do everything they can to like ignore it and mask it. But like getting in touch and even just like starting with tracking your cycle is really powerful. But like knowing that as women, I always like to use this little concept that men are the sun and women are the moon. And as women, we don't have to show up the same every day. Men really do operate like the sun. Every 24 hours, the sun rises and the sun sets, and it happens in the exact same way every single day. And that's like how men's hormones work. Like pretty much every 24 hours, male hormones are the same day after day after day. They operate solely on their circadian rhythm, their 24-hour biological clock. But as women, we operate, of course, we have a circadian rhythm, but our mind, our body, and our energy is primarily controlled with our monthly cycle, which is called our infradian rhythm. And just like the moon gets dark, the moon gets light, it shows up in different phases throughout the entire month. And we are just a reflection of the moon. And just like really teaching women how to honor our cycles every day is really powerful in our healing journey. And that just helps you understand that like not every single day is a day to push and hustle, whether that's in business, whether that's with your workouts, whatever it may be. Like rest is a really powerful thing too. Like we have to flow like the moon. We have to go dark. There's times when it's like best to be light. There's times when it's like you can push and try to get those PRs in your workout. And there's times when it's best to just stretch and do yoga, and that's not going to set you back at all. But my best advice is just allowing women or giving women permission to just honor our cycles and showing up in a different way every day. Like that is incredibly powerful to our total healing journey, like regardless of what it is you're seeking out to heal.
And I'm curious, with you saying that, do you know if that's kind of in your opinion, a common thing because of our history and women just not understanding their own bodies, or what do you think that stems from?
I mean, I think number one, lack of education. I don't think we've ever even learned about our period. I think so. Like we didn't learn about it in school. Like we all took like one health class in fourth grade or something. Yeah. And then, we see commercials every day about just being on birth control to mask our period. Like that's the first thing that if you go to see your general practitioner in the world of conventional medicine, like if you have symptoms, they're just going to give you birth control to mask those symptoms. When I really like to say our symptoms are our most beautiful messengers. Thank God for our symptoms. Otherwise, we wouldn't know that something is wrong. But instead, people just take Advil and they just mask everything. And I think it comes from so many things. Like as society, we don't honor women. Like women are supposed to push and show up in the same way. And we have so much power. Like sometimes when I teach this concept, and I know this isn't even like the whole concept of the topic of what we're trying to get into today, but when I start to talk about the fact that men show up in the same way every single day, I've done talks on this before, and sometimes there's women in the audience who are just like, oh my God, like men are so lucky, like this sucks for us. And I'm like, no, our period, our cycle is our superpower. Like when we learn how to tune in to these different phases, like this is when we thrive in life. Like often we're setting ourselves back because we're pushing when we're supposed to be going inward. And now even as an entrepreneur, like we can set up our schedules to help us thrive. We can set up podcast interviews like in like our ovulatory phase when we're supposed to be more social. And there's just so many ways that we can use this to our advantage. But I think it just starts from the way we've been taught to view periods from the time we were little. I know even growing up with like my mom had really horrible periods and symptoms, and like just watching that, like I was just like, oh my God, that sucks, like I think that's how most little girls view it. It's never like a celebration that we're stepping into this powerful phase of our life. It's just kind of like dreaded, not talked about, awkward, shameful. So
absolutely,
I think getting this information in the hands of like, I always say like at one point I would love to teach this work specifically to young women, because can you imagine where we would be if we were equipped with all of it, everything we know now? If we knew that back then, like where we'd be now. It's interesting, but I think just
I think
teaching
you
our younger
brought up
generations is powerful too.
a very great point there as well, that the energetic aspects that we pass along by our own subconscious views of things continue if we don't disrupt that. Yeah.
Just like everything, of course. Yeah, totally.
Exactly. Yeah. So being able to teach the younger generations and show up like yourself to be able to, because the only way you're able to teach is if you're able to understand fully.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. And I do want you to say you have some programs that go on just while we're still on this topic. So anyone in the Chicago area, I know you're going to be up in Wisconsin this summer as well. Please
Oh
tell everyone.
yeah, I would love to. So like I said, my, even going back to what's shifted in this past year, like I've taken down, I do one-on-one personal training. I had pivoted into a format of virtual training this past year, and now I'm back personal training in person too, but I'm doing a combination of both. So 2 days a week, I do in-person training in the Chicago area. 3 days a week, I do virtual private personal training. In addition to that, I have my holistic hormone balancing self-study course. But the big thing that has been really exciting, like I had briefly mentioned, is I have my monthly membership program, which is essentially a subscription program. It's called the Quantum Fit Flow Self Healers. You get so much every month. It's unbelievable. It's only $47 a month. And basically what I do is I deep freaking dive into one topic every single month in the realm of holistic healing specific to women. So that is a huge program that I encourage everyone to do. I created this really for everyone. I know not everyone can like afford the private services all the time. So I really wanted to create something that everyone could do and afford. So my monthly self-healers membership program has been super exciting. And then like you mentioned, this summer I am doing 3 Quantum Fit Flow movement medicine healing pop-up events. So one of them is going to be back in my hometown in Germantown on August 1st. So they're just like little half-day events, really beautiful movement medicine class, like teaching all the things I know. Also teaching about lymphatic support, which we'll be hitting on today, infused with a lot of breath work and Reiki meditation. I've hired a private chef for this event. So it's going to be like a really beautiful organic plant-based meal and cacao ceremony and just like, sisterhood connection. So yeah, I'm going to do one in Wisconsin, in Chicago, and the 3rd location is in the works. But yeah, that's what's coming up. And I'm just so excited about that right now.
So awesome. And it's going to be amazing for the people who are outside of your area to get to see you in person and connect with you and share that beautiful light with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
With your monthly membership this month, you were working on the lymphatic system, correct?
Yeah, so in the month, this is really aligned that you reached out. I was really excited when you reached out and asked if I would be willing to talk about the lymphatic system, which is so important. Of course, my work is focused with women, but the lymphatic system it's not specific to women. We all have a lymphatic system. And yeah, the month of May in my program, we focused on opening drainage pathways. So our drainage pathways are our body's own personal ways of removing toxins from our body. And that is our main drainage pathways are our colon, our liver, gallbladder, and bile ducts, our lymphatic system, our skin, and our brain. So everything is super interconnected. You can talk a lot about, it's really hard to talk about just one of those without addressing the other systems of elimination or drainage pathways. But yeah, a huge part of my month was talking about the lymphatic system. So excited to be here to just continue the conversation and just expand the audience a little bit, teach this information to some more people.
Definitely. And I do know, so for me, I've been doing like facial points, which is up the jaw and then along the drainage pathways here. But can you get into that a little bit more?
Sure. So specifically with, I can talk a little bit about the face and neck because I know, like, especially as women, they sometimes get interested. Like people get intrigued for many different reasons, but especially when you start to talk about beauty and like sculpting your cheekbones and your jaw and letting your lips plump a little bit just through a little bit of facial manipulation, people are sucked in. So essentially, let me give you a little super brief overview of the lymphatic system, but I like to explain the lymphatic system as like the plumbing system. We all have a plumbing system in our home. It's like the plumbing system in our body. So if you think about your house, your plumbing system brings in all of the clean water, all of the clean fluid, and it takes out all of the waste. So you flush your toilet, all of the waste is removed, right? So that's exactly how our lymphatic system works within our own body. It pumps through clean fluid to keep us really healthy. You can think of that in regards to white blood cells, our immune system, and it allows our body to remove waste, to keep us clean, to remove those toxins, keep us healthy. We have over 700 lymph nodes in our body. Most people only hear about or are only aware of either the lymphatic system or lymph nodes when they hear of lymphoma, cancer of the lymph. And other than that, most people, even doctors, rarely ever mention it. People are completely unaware that we have this lymphatic system. It's the largest circulatory system in our body, even larger than our vascular circulatory system that we know of as our bloodstream. So our lymphatic system is huge in every system, every function of our body. We have over 700 lymph nodes, but over 2/3 of those lymph nodes are in our neck. So like you were saying, it's really important to do like these little gentle massage techniques through above our collarbone. This little hollow above your collarbone is actually the main lymphatic drainage point in our entire body. So I like to teach self-lymphatic massage as a drainage therapy, and it's just really gently massaging through these different drainage, main drainage like clusters, lymph clusters. It's like where we basically have large clusters of lymph nodes in our body, which are generally around joints. So it starts from going from the bottom of our body up behind our knees, through our groin space, so much lymph throughout our entire abdominal cavity. So like through our GI tract, through our organs, all throughout our belly space, so much lymph. And then underneath our armpits, which is also really important to support our breast health. And then the largest lymphatic drainage point, like I just mentioned, is actually the space above our collarbone. And this is what allows all of the lymph fluid to drain from our neck, from our face, and then most importantly, from our brain. When I teach about drainage pathways or the lymphatic system, it's really important to note that like everything works like a pyramid. So things can only drain as well. So think about our brain. If everything below, if our colon is clogged, if our liver is stagnant and clogged, if our lymphatic system is stagnant and clogged, that means that our brain, everything is clogged. Our brain has nowhere to drain. So when it comes to talking about mental health and cognitive health, just being in charge of like the future of our brain. Like people fear things like dementia and cognitive dysfunction, but we have so much control over these things by focusing on our lymph system. We have an entire lymphatic system in our brain called the glymphatic system. So when you're doing things like you're talking about massaging your face, not only are you supporting your skin and the drainage from your face, but it's also beautiful brain support too. Yeah, so it's really important to open up that drainage pathway above your collarbone, allow that fluid to drain down your neck, massage through your face. And in that process, you're also opening everything up to allow your brain to drain as well. And it drains all the toxins from your brain. And when that happens, it allows your brain so that amyloid plaques don't build up, so we can avoid those cognitive diseases that are really plaguing our nation, So it goes so far beyond beauty. It really goes really deep into like brain health as well.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, super cool. Long, really tangent on a short question, but
that's okay. And with those other systems, I'm the most familiar with lymphatic. So can you maybe touch on the other ones for people who too aren't as aware of all the other ones?
Right. So when we're talking about our drainage pathways, like I said, our drainage pathways is kind of a fancy term for talking about our body's natural way, our body's natural systems of elimination. So to eliminate toxins, we live in a very toxic environment. You and I are both huge proponents on teaching people how food is medicine, food is the foundation of our health. But it goes so much deeper. Something I always talk about is we often hear you are what you eat. And I believe that to an extent, but I like to go a little bit deeper and say you are what you digest and what you don't eliminate. So you can eat all of the healthy food in the world, but if your systems of elimination, your systems of detoxification aren't working properly and they're clogged and they're stagnant, you're going to have a really toxic body. So what we need to do is, like, regardless of what it is you're trying to heal from, whether it's a physical ailment, whether it's gut health, whether it's hormone imbalance, whether it's mental health issues, I would say anything you're trying to heal from, the first thing we can do is start to open those pathways of elimination, open our drainage pathways. And first and foremost, that starts with our colon. Our colon is our number one base drainage pathway. And we do that through daily bowel movement. So we need to, like, this is so imperative. We must be having 1 to 3 daily bowel movements. Like, the word out there is like, oh, like your doctor will likely tell you like 3 times a week. It's fine. If you're having bowel movements 3 times a week, then you're fine. And that is simply inaccurate and not true, and actually a really dangerous statement. When we have our body first should be eliminating all of the toxins through our colon on a daily basis. And when it's not, everything is sitting compacted in our colon. Our colon is like a sponge. So anything it's not eliminating, it's completely absorbing. And those toxins are recirculating through our entire body and bloodstream. So we need to get all of that out through our colon. That's the place to start. Number one, you need to be having 1 to 3 daily bowel movements. That's the base of the pyramid. And then going up, we're talking about our liver and gallbladder and bile ducts. So in order, a lot of people are becoming more familiar that our liver has a really huge role in our overall health. But we can't even begin addressing our liver if first our colon is blocked. Because like I said, like the pyramid, we need to make sure the colon is open, because if we start draining our liver, it has to then be eliminated through our bowels. So if that's still clogged, everything again is going to be recirculating. So number 1, colon, number 2, liver. And this just gets into so many things, like in the realm of toxicity, which you and I are both super passionate about, teaching people that so much of our health, so many of our issues are a result of toxins. Some things we don't necessarily have control of in our external environment, but most things we do. And, in regards to our products, in our air quality, in our water quality, at least in our own home, the foods we eat. So like, you and I both talk about like our skincare products, like anything you put on your skin gets it directly absorbed into your bloodstream. So if we're constantly putting toxic bath and body and hair products on our skin, that's going to create a lot of toxicity. And then of course, cleaning products, home products like fragrance, and then, just tap water has a lot of toxins, unfortunately. Like investing in a really good water filter is important, but all of those toxins that we are exposed to on a daily basis have to process through our liver. Our liver essentially takes toxins and it makes them a little less toxic, but then they still need to be eliminated. The problem I see often, especially in women's health, especially in my world of women's holistic hormone balancing, is that our liver has to process all of these toxins we're exposed to on a daily basis, but our liver also has to process metabolic waste, like our hormones. So when we finish using a hormone, like estrogen, for instance, most female reproductive issues are the result of excess estrogen. But if our liver is too congested with toxic products, it's going to be so busy and overburdened and clogged and stagnant and sluggish that it's not going to have the capacity then to process all of these excess hormones that are surging through our body. So when we finish using those estrogens, they get processed through our liver, just like a toxic makeup product, right? So what happens is when we're exposed to a lot of toxins, our liver doesn't have the capacity to process our hormones. And then we see those excess estrogens begin to recirculate through our body. So then we start to see estrogen dominant issues, so many things. So like when it comes to women's reproductive health, trying to heal from painful, heavy, irregular periods, or endometriosis, which is something that I completely healed myself from, PCOS, which is something that a lot of women struggle from, we really have to focus deeply into the liver. So that's kind of like that next step in our pyramid of systems of elimination drainage pathways. So that's really important too. And then that's when we get into the lymphatic system next, because, you know, if our liver is really sluggish, that's going to affect our lymphatic health as well. So it's just interesting. It's like, we can talk about all the things in the world to support our lymphatic system, which I want to get into next, but I really want to make that clear that in order for all of this work to be really powerfully, even to work in your own life, like first you need to make sure your colon is open, and then we need to do things to support our liver. And a couple really, I guess I talked about like issues of the liver, but simple things you can do on a daily basis, even from like drinking something like dandelion tea. That is just like something you can do every single day to support the liver. Things like castor oil packs are really powerful for liver cleansing. My favorite drainage therapy, which is really great for both the colon and the liver and the lymphatic system, are coffee enemas. So I won't go into too much detail unless you guys want me to, but coffee enemas are really powerfully cleansing actually for the liver. We think of enemas as cleansing the bowels, which they do, but coffee enemas are literally the best thing ever for liver support. So that has been like the secret sauce these days. Like I'm trying to get everyone on the coffee enema train because we all need some liver support in our lives.
And I know that there's places you can go get them done. Do you personally just do them yourself? How does that work?
So generally, a lot of those med spas, I feel like they mostly do colonics, although I think there are places now that are doing more enemas as well, but it is so easy to do at home. You can buy an enema kit off Amazon for like $27. You can buy the enema grade coffee again off Amazon for like $15. You set it up in your bathroom. And it's so easy. It's definitely not something that you have to pay for and go in and spend a ton of money to have someone else do it for you. I think it's much more comfortable to do something like this in your own home too, because I mean, it is how it sounds. It's an enema. Like I would rather be in my own bathroom than, you know, in like a spa facility for that. But no, you can totally do that at home. And it's something you can do often. Like for me, it's become like a weekly thing. I do a coffee enema generally every Sunday night. And I always say like hold it in long enough that you start to feel gurgling happening underneath your right rib cage. And that's when you know you're getting that liver and gallbladder support. So don't dismiss the coffee enemas. That is amazing for liver support.
I'm curious, as a highly sensitive person, does it affect you the way caffeine does?
So yes, I'm definitely, well, you know, one thing to mention, so we're all very different. We all have different sensitivities. I am definitely a highly sensitive person as well. But one symptom, like one way you know that your drainage pathways are stagnant and not working optimally is when you are extra sensitive to caffeine or even alcohol. I know you don't drink, and I know I don't drink often anymore. But for people who are highly sensitive to caffeine, it could be indicative of stagnant drainage pathways. So it can actually help with that sensitivity over time, but still we all have different sensitivities regardless of that. I'm definitely sensitive to an extent to caffeine, and yes, it can feel, it's energizing in a sense, not like if you were to drink coffee, it doesn't make you like shaky or jittery, but of course your body is absorbing it. I guess my biggest tip is I used to do them like before bed. I would say don't do a coffee enema before bed because that could definitely affect your sleep. But I think if you do it like morning or mid-morning, you're generally okay. And maybe maybe the day you do a coffee enema, like take a little CBD before bed if you feel like you need that extra calming. But yes, I mean, of course, your body is in a sense absorbing some of that, but not in the same way. Like the caffeine is more of a detox agent than a stimulating agent when you do it through an enema.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you've noticed like as a huge difference since you've started that in your own health?
Yes. Well, a lot of the things I teach about, even, when we're talking about drainage opening, is a huge thing that is blocking our drainage, are parasites. And people get a little like creeped out when I start talking about parasites, but we all have them. Like it's nothing to be creeped out about. We all deal with parasites. It's just, I had a live Q&A the other night in my membership program, and one of the women was like, I understand that we all have parasites, but I still don't understand like where they come from, how we get them. And really they come from everywhere, like from our food, even when we're eating super healthy, even when you're vegan, like we think of them mostly from like fish and undercooked meat, but you can still get parasites from plant foods, from water, swimming in lakes or streams. We can get them from our pets. We can get them from grounding and earthing outside with bare feet. All of these things that we encourage, right? Like we know that pets are great for increasing the diversity of our microbiome. So we know that grounding outside is wonderful for so many reasons. Of course, we don't want to be grounding like where dogs poop all the time. But my main advice when it comes to parasites, which this is very connected to everything we're continuing to talk about, is stop over stressing about where we're getting them from, because it's really less about the pathogen and it's more about the terrain. It's just like when we talk about germs and viruses, and all of these things are completely unavoidable. It's part of being a human on this earth. We're always going to be exposed to germs. We're always going to be exposed to pathogens and viruses. They're not avoidable. And that's the exact same way we're always going to be exposed to parasites. So what we need to do is make sure our gut and our immune system are in check, and our systems of our drainage pathways are open, because when our drainage pathways are open, our body naturally takes care of them and naturally rids them. But getting it back into coffee enemas, you'll notice the detoxification of parasites too, without even doing a full parasite protocol. So you may notice some things that come out like in parasitic nature. Very clear thinking. Like when I finish parasite cleanses, like my ability to everything is just so clear. My energy is amazing. My mental capacity is just great. It's definitely very cleansing and clearing for the skin. Although when you're eliminating a lot of toxins at once, sometimes, of course, you may notice like a couple blemishes come up first, but I can't even think it's so supportive to every system. Like whenever I'm encouraging people to invest in their health, I always say start with a really good water filter. And then secondly, like I'm always encouraging people to buy coffee enema kits, because they're great for the colon, great for the liver, great for our lymph system, our energy, great for our gut health, keeping those pathogens in check. Like, yeah, so all the things.
That's wonderful. And yes, as you said, we're currently dealing with that large scale event at this point, but even in the future, if one were to take place again, or if another, anything really, it's more about our own bodies is what you're saying than the pathogen itself.
Correct. I think it's just been in like since conventional Western medicine has really taken over. And, I'm a huge proponent of holistic health, which does not mean that I'm anti-Western medicine by any means. Like how I see this work is Western medicine is a really beautiful thing. We're lucky to have it, but I see it more for acute illness or injury, for emergency medicine. Okay, so you get in a car accident, your guts are hanging out, you break your leg, you're not going to go to your naturopathic doctor. Like, thank God we have the ER for a situation like that. But for chronic and ongoing issues, we need to focus on self-healing from within. Like chronic issues don't just pop up overnight. It's not from like when you went to your doctor appointment back in January and you go back 6 months later and all of a sudden, and I'm using an extreme case, but all of a sudden you have cancer. Like cancer doesn't develop in a few months. Cancer develops over 10, 20, 30 years. So, we really need to be focusing internally for so many reasons, for disease prevention. But yeah, like what's happened as Western medicine has taken over is everything has become the germ theory. We're afraid of germs. Like, everything is antibacterial. Like the germ theory is quite inaccurate. Germs do not make us sick. Viruses do not make us sick. It should really be about the terrain theory. It's how our body responds to these things. If we have a really healthy internal terrain, from our immune system to our toxicity level, to our level of inflammation, like it's all about the terrain, and it's our terrain that dictates whether or not these pathogens can or cannot make us ill. Like that's why you can see some people are exposed to a lot of the same things. Some people get sick, some people don't, right? And that's very indicative of their internal terrain. So yes, like you just stated, it's important to be aware of all of these things, especially when I'm talking about drainage pathways. Like I said, the first thing we can do when we're even talking about immune health, especially in this really it's a hot topic this past year, like drainage pathways are key to helping our immune system operate as it's designed to.
Yeah. And I am seeing, I'm in the longevity business with supplements. I was working with them and their supply chain the other day and noticing that it is an upkeep. People are wanting that other option. They're looking for those other avenues and really looking to explore that now. So like you had said with last year kind of being a blessing in disguise, do you see that as that moving forward maybe?
I do. I think that I always like joke that people who thought I was a little out there, a little too woo-woo, those were all the people hit me up in 2020, like, hey, Christy, like what supplement can I take for my immune system? And, people are definitely opening up to this. So I think that is a beautiful thing. But something I do like to stress is like, we really always need a balanced approach. Supplements are amazing and super powerful, but we can't out supplement the basics. Like we can't out supplement sleep. We can't out supplement daily movement, nature, sunshine, proper diet. And then when it comes to opening our drainage pathways as well. So it's like, we need drainage opening and supplements. Supplements are like the icing on the cake. Supplements, I love them. I recommend them for everyone. But I think sometimes I even know this happened to me when I was initially seeking out on my holistic journey. Like, it's like, what supplement can help cure this? So we kind of get into that same mindset. I call it greenwashing. Like we start to try to treat symptoms with supplements, just like we used to treat symptoms with pharmaceuticals. So it's, of course, a much better, more natural, softer approach. But we also need to be aware of not only supplementing, but being super aware of focusing on the basics. And like I'm going to continue to repeat and stress today, the basics being opening our drainage pathways, colon, liver, lymphatic system, which I'll continue on shortly, skin and brain. That stuff is just, you can't avoid it,
Right. They all work together.
And it's just like we were talking about earlier, like, just like we need drainage therapies and supplements, we need a really balanced approach with nutrition and lifestyle. I always like to tell people we can't heal non-dietary related issues with dietary approaches. I know often, like when we're dealing with things, I've been down this road. I know so many other people have who, we get symptoms and we always think like, oh, it must be my food. Like what other food group can I cut out? What can I cut out? But like a healthy gut should be able to process most foods. Of course, we are all incredibly bio-unique individuals with, different nutrition requirements, but, it's not always food related. Like we need to also focus on our drainage pathways and address this underlying issue of toxicity.
Absolutely. And do you have any resources? Obviously, your monthly course, we'll get that up so people can click on that right away. But any books or anywhere that you would encourage people to start if they're looking for that, maybe women and men, or any?
Interesting. One book that I thought was really amazing is called The Power Source by 𝓛𝓮𝓪𝓯. So this one is definitely more women's focused, but not really. Like, I think it could be for everyone. She addresses the pelvic floor a lot. Men have pelvic floors too. We just only hear it talked about in the realm of like women's holistic health. But in this book, she addresses toxicity. She addresses the lymphatic system. I've read the book probably about 5 times. Not only does she do a really good job of combining both the physical and the emotional body and talking deeply about the lymphatic system, but she also gives like pictures of different exercises and movements you can do to open up the lymph. So I think that's a really good book. It's a really good book for people, regardless of where you're at on your journey. Really good book for beginners. I've had people who don't know much about this stuff at all, like really resonate with this book. It wasn't overwhelming. And I know that, reading it time and time again, I always pick up a little bit more too. So I would say that would be my recommendation, would be that book.
And I know we probably don't have much more time today, but is there any more on this topic specifically that you want the world to know?
I want to just address a little bit more about the lymphatic system. Yeah. So, like I said, our lymphatic system, I kind of compared it to the plumbing system in our body. But what's really important to know, so it's the largest circulatory system in our body. Our lymphatic system runs like rivers and streams throughout our body, just like our veins and our arteries that carry our blood. Okay, so it runs right alongside our blood system, our vascular system, but we have so much more lymph than vascular, than the vascular system. But our vascular system pumps regardless. Like, we've got an internal pump, which is our heart, and our blood system is constantly pumping and circulating, and we don't have to think about it. Our lymphatic system does not have an internal pump like our heart. So that's why people get into so many issues of lymphatic stagnation and congestion and toxicity issues, is because unlike our heart, which our blood is pumping all the time, the lymphatic system needs to be consciously activated. And a few things that activate and pump our lymphatic system is conscious diaphragmatic breathing. So most people go mindlessly throughout the day, chest breathing, really shallow breathing. That's a very fight or flighty stress breath. What we need to be doing more often, not only to regulate our nervous system, but to actually pump, because we know we need our lymphatic system pumping to help not only pump the good fluids in our immune system and the white blood cells, but to get rid of the toxicity, we need to be breathing deeply into our diaphragm. So if you just think of breathing through your nose, so if you close your mouth and take a nice full deep breath in through your nose, you're going to notice that your stomach expands, right? We want to more often, every second of the day, be more consciously aware of diaphragmatic breathing, breathing into our belly space, and that's going to help pump our lymphatic system. The second thing we can focus on to pump our lymphatic system is movement. So breath and movement are the two things that are naturally going to pump our lymph more than anything else. So a lot of people think of movement in regards to exercise, which is essential. Like, we need to exercise daily. That doesn't mean we need to run ourselves into the ground by any means, but what we can't get caught up in is thinking that a 1-hour workout every single day can negate like 20 hours of sitting at your desk and lying on the couch the rest of the day. So what we really need is movement more often throughout the day. Like, we need to, even if it's just a couple minutes at a time, like getting up from our desk. A really powerful thing to pump our lymph is called rebounding. So like a mini trampoline, but you don't actually need a trampoline for that. You can just like bounce lightly on the floor. It can be super low impact. So even for people who have like issues with their feet, their knees, their hips, they can do this really light rebounding method, and that helps pump the lymph. walks are incredibly powerful for supporting the lymphatic system. So it doesn't have to be like crazy, wild, run yourself to the floor exercise. We just need movement more often, really like in our mind, thinking of movement less in regards to the aesthetic and more in regards to like, we're supporting our lymphatic system. So even like short little walks, even if it's down the block and back, a few times a day, even if it's just like getting up and doing some stretches, doing a little rebounding, but more movement throughout the day is essential to help support the lymphatic system.
Yeah.
So just to kind of review that, lymphatic system does not have an internal pump. We need to do things to activate and pump our own lymphatic system. So diaphragmatic breathing and movement are the two things that we can do all day long, right? These are free tools to us. We have access to these things at all times. All we need is our own body and our own intention. And then a couple other really powerful tools are dry brushing, cold showers, like the Wim Hof method. Breath work is like my medicine of choice. Anyone's going through anything, I'm always like breath work. So I know we don't have time to get into all of that today, but I encourage everyone to even like go on YouTube and check out the Wim Hof breath technique. You're going to be breathing diaphragmatically through your belly space. So that's a really good way to pump, pump, pump and flush, activate that lymph, drop our body into that parasympathetic rest, digest, and heal mode, regulate our central nervous system, and most importantly, support our body's own systems of detoxification and elimination and support our lymph system.
Beautiful. And I just kind of thought of some stuff too, like even things you don't think of, like mini dance breaks or any type of movement, really, like you're saying, low impact, just something that you can do for yourself for a few minutes.
Yeah, like, and I love that you brought up dance. Like, dance is so amazing. Like, if you have a little break, put on your favorite song, if you're in your bathroom, in your kitchen, and just like jam the heck out. And not only is it great, we're activating our lymph system, we're getting our body moving. It's really like wonderful for mood support, and it just helps you feel good. Like back in ancient days, like when we all lived in tribes and tribes had healers and leaders, like if a sick person went to the tribal healer, the first thing that the healer would ask is, when did you stop singing and when did you stop dancing? So these are like primal medicine, free medicine for us all. Dancing is beautiful, and I'm so happy you brought that up because I do a lot of that in my movement medicine work, like just teaching people how to reconnect with our bodies, like, and how to bring the joy back into everything too. When a lot of us set out on these healing journeys, everything becomes so serious, and, you know, in the wellness world, in the spiritual world, and things don't have to be so serious. And I've been down that road too. Like, my word of the year is just joy. I'm trying to make everything more fun, and like, you know, I love it. Dancing is great. I love that you use that example.
And bringing out like that childlike self of us in that version. Yeah.
Totally, totally.
I think we are close to wrapping up here. I am so thankful that we got this opportunity, and I hope that we can keep connecting. I think I'm going to be joining your monthly membership just to follow along and keep learning.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I mean, I know we talk all the time on Instagram, but it's just been nice to see your beautiful face and just chat. I feel like I could talk to you forever, and like, oh my gosh, there's so many things I didn't even touch on. So we'll definitely have to continue this conversation.
Let's finish it up on that with post full moon vibes. Is there anything you can do the day after a full moon for yourself?
Okay, so we are under so much heightened cosmic activity. Like, we have the full moon, lunar eclipse right now. We are under a Saturn retrograde. Mercury is in its shadow phase. So Mercury retrograde starts in, I don't even know the date, I think 3 days.
Yeah.
Number one, not fearing this stuff. I think like we read all the memes online. It's like Mercury retrograde, like this stuff is all in our highest and best honor. Like, it's just bringing back a lot of these karmic patterns to be brought up and healed. And all of this cosmic activity is really to set, a lot of change happens but it really is for the highest and best. So first of all, nothing to be feared. But secondly, when we've got a lot of this heightened cosmic activity, we need to ground deeply into our bodies. And it's really taking it back to the basics. A lot of the free medicines, a lot of the things we've already mentioned today, I just lost a headphone. That's okay. But number one, like walking is so beautiful and grounding. Really getting outside and walking as often as you can. Even if you live in a city, like just getting outside. I know it's not the same as like being in a forest, but it doesn't matter. Getting outside, being in the natural sunlight, breathing in the fresh air deeply through your nose into your belly space, like we were talking about. Walking is the most beautiful grounding tool. Our own breath is so beautifully grounding, making sure like we don't even have to be following a guided meditation or a guided breathwork pattern, but just like more often than not, closing our mouths, breathing through our nose, because nose breathing is what can really activate that grounding, parasympathetic, rest, digest, calm, and heal state. Breathing through our belly, eating really grounding, nourishing foods. Like I mentioned in the beginning, like not eating enough can get us really like flighty and, anxious. So giving us full permission to fully nourish with whole foods, unprocessed foods, giving ourselves, if we are more tired, which I know a lot of people are just like so extra tired during this time, allowing yourself to rest and to nap if that's what's needed. Like oftentimes resting can be the absolute most productive thing you can do. So, just being gentle with ourselves, like tuning into that intuition, asking yourself more often through every part of the day, like, what would my body love right now? And sometimes it is going to be that nap, or sometimes it's going to be, a specific food that whatever our body is deeply craving in that moment, giving that to ourselves, again, the basics, hydration, walking, all of those things. So yeah, grounding into our bodies during full moon time, and just, a lot of the cosmic transitions that I mentioned are taking place throughout most of the summer. Like summer is the time of eclipse season. This goes through the end of July. So really focusing, it's a beautiful time to go inward and focus on our healing, our grounding, and bringing it back to the basics. Everything doesn't have to be incredibly expensive and fancy. Like we can't outwork the basics, guys.
Yeah. Wow. It's been a powerful hour here. I look forward to hopefully doing some more in the future with us.
Absolutely, Caitlin. Anytime. I am happy to be here, honored to be on your podcast, and just so grateful to be on this journey with you.
I am too. I'm very grateful for everything that I've learned from you and everything that we'll continue to keep co-learning, creating, and more. I mean, I think that the more these things happen, the more the community is growing, and the better it's going to become in the end.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Wonderful. Thank you everyone who tuned in. And if you're listening to this after, please feel free to reach out to Christy at Quantum Fit Flow. Is there another place where you'd like people to reach you at, Christy?
I think Instagram is probably the best tool. That's where I'm more active. So it's just at quantum.fit.flow. Feel free to drop into the DMs and I will get back to everyone.
Wonderful. And if you're in the Wisconsin area, I know you said, when are you having your Wisconsin?
So the Quantum Fit Flow Movement Medicine Healing pop-up event is going to be Sunday, August 1st. So follow along my socials, Instagram, I'll be posting. Tickets will go on sale probably this weekend, and I am limiting each event probably to about 40 tickets. So it's definitely going to be first come, first serve. So yeah, check that out. Follow me along on Instagram, and that's probably the best place to see everything I offer. I have a little link tree which takes you to my website. That's where you can sign up for my monthly membership program and all of the things.
Perfect. And if you're looking for health coaching, go ahead and reach out to Leaf Best for Last. I am taking on clients through the summer, and I can't wait to work with more individuals as the sunshine continues to show.
Yay!
Yay. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you in person at your events coming up, and just seeing you continue to excel and help women all over the country. I think it's beautiful what you're sharing, and there's going to be a lot of younger women who will excel from the information that you're providing. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Caitlin.
You're welcome. Have a great rest of your week, everyone, and we'll talk soon. Have a great rest.
Bye.